Okay, so last time I did my second 10K draft ever, even despite having played the game, for basically a year on whatever irregular schedule. But that is pretty surprising. But I guess I deliberately avoided them. People at the beginning were always telling me you should do them because you get to keep the cards. But I was kind of less concerned about that and just more concerned about the raw experience of like that is a very good feature. Like you wouldn't be able to get that many cards or those exact cards any other way. So it turns the draft more into choose what cards you want for your collection rather than choose what you think is going to be best for the draft. So that's always a good excuse you can use. Like, oh, I wasn't drafting for value or for wins. I was drafting for my collection. But in any case, we won 2 games, and there is sort of a clutch off point that I, maybe didn't realize in the other one. Like, yeah, see, this is a 10K draft as well. The difference between winning 2 and 3 is astronomical, right? 250, and then it jumps up to 1,000. Like that's a huge, huge deal. And so if at least if I'd gotten 3, then you can almost do another arena run, right? And of course, the fact that it splits the currency is a little bit inconvenient, but I at least like that you can earn these technically free to play. It's just kind of a little roundabout way. You buy in with gold and then you get that in return instead, which is kind of good. But it's almost like you should be able to choose or you should be able to convert them somehow, which maybe there is some way, but I forgot. At the very least, there's no way to convert gold to gems. Maybe there's a way to convert gems to gold. Because you might think, why does it even matter? But if you combine these two values, you might have enough to do one, right? But because it splits the way now, you might have like 8,000 here and like 1,200 here. So they're both falling short of being able to do that. So it wasn't a very good thing. And you obviously have to realize that drafts in this game are very difficult and very complex, which I have to give them that credit. Like, I can't really compare it to Hearthstone or anything in that way because it's just very, yeah, we'll spend 600 gems on 300 gems on that. I better not though. So the whole irony of that is the simple difference of going 2 and 3 instead of 3 and 3 in that run would be the difference of basically a whole nother 10K draft or like a whole nother month of farming. So because of how little I play, like once a week for like maybe an hour, because of how busy my Mondays are. This is actually like my shortest stream of the week, basically. We got a sick card back from that draft we did. It wasn't like a normal 10K draft either. It was like the historic celebration of the whatever 40th anniversary or whatever it was, some kind of anniversary, 20th anniversary, not 40th. But basically, yeah, like the difference of not getting that 1K or doing better in the draft. Now, for the next few weeks, I'll be farming gold, which is the main thing. Obviously, it's more like weekly quest rather than daily quest. You end up in a situation where it takes that long to really get back to 10K. Kill 15 of your opponent's creatures. I always like those conditions, but they do give you less than the specific ones, like 750. But yeah, like it's really hard to earn in the course of a day. Like if you do these, that's all you're going to get. Yeah, it'll take me like 3 weeks just to farm out that little amount. So every month I can do one 10K draft based at the rate I play, and assuming I do so badly in them once I get there, which has been generally the case. That's part of the reason why I like to do the other ones before. Let's change this guy just for the heck of it. Boy, I wish you said that when I played you as a planeswalker, which I don't even think I have you, but yeah, this one is pretty sick. We got that for just competing in that one. So it was kind of good timing too, because yeah, that's one of those instances where even if I had won more games, if I had to end off last time, like, oh, I'm 3-2 and I'll come back next time and try it, I wouldn't have been able to because this is next time. So it would have reset the run and given me the rewards, but it wouldn't have let me, it wouldn't have given me a refund for the whole thing. Like I kind of get why they don't do that, because you can kind of game the system and say, get the free cards that you want from the draft and then don't play any and let it run out. Like, oh no, I'm 0-0, so I didn't even play, and then you'll get a full refund and be able to do it over again. But it's kind of unfair in a way because you pay 10K, you play a little bit, then when you play next time it's already over and reset. So that's kind of unfair. Those jump in ones are kind of boring. I almost wanted to do this one. In fact, I even named my stream last time exactly that, like the stakes in my second 10K draft ever, and the stakes are higher than ever, because it would mean that I only get 3 games, and that's kind of good for my schedule because I hate having to acquiesce it to that. I never hold that against the game, like, oh, if you don't have enough time to do it, like an MMO. That doesn't make the game bad. It just means it's not for you at that point. But I always just like to adjust my style then. Like, it still doesn't stop me from doing it. I'll just have to do it kind of just like I won't rush it just because of that. I'll still take my time the way I would want to if I had infinite time. But no, here you would play 3 games one way or another, so you're always going to have enough time for that, and so then it becomes much more desirable because either way there'll be a sense of finality. So you would only have to win 2, for example, to get your money back, or not really. It's 15, but whatever. I still consider that to be fine. So yeah, I won't have to get the dreaded 3-win standpoint of of what we need in the other drafts. So it's not like I'll only do 10k drafts from now, but I kind of want to make a point to do them. And my collection might be better than what you realize because of this. I just haven't, or because of the fact that you can't disenchant stuff. So you basically, you know, whatever I have. So it's over the course of a year's worth of play is probably actually pretty good. I don't know if it shows me the historic stuff actually by default. It almost should. Yeah, I haven't played as blue or white like at all. So one of these days I should make a point to try to do that. I played as green maybe a bit too much. And then I played as black. Mainly I try to play as black in drafts. That's sort of like my guilty pleasure because I like the aesthetic and stuff. But as far as constructed, I haven't played it much. And then red actually, so I kind of like to divide it that way. Not that that's a hard rule, but in constructed, I play red and green. Then in drafts, I play black. And then in blue and white, I just never play because they suck. And I hate them. They're sort of the 2 play styles I like the least. Whether that be priest, like in Hearthstone, or, you know, white is sort of like priest and paladin-ish. And then blue is sort of like rogue and, I don't even know, like almost rogue and mage, but not really. That's basically what Hearthstone did, is sort of split the colors into two classes each. In fact, if you didn't know, if you weren't familiar with the Warcraft universe, you might even say that's literally what they did. They took each color and made 2 classes for each one. But the fact is that, and that's kind of true, maybe mechanically, sort of, but those character classes were already in the games, like, established in the lore. So it's not like they did it that way just flippantly. There happened to be 9 of them, you know, like in vanilla. So it kind of worked out for them, but or what I'm glad they didn't do with Hearthstone is like make it like Heroes of the Storm. It's always interesting to look back at it. Like Hearthstone was intended as sort of just like a pet project, like some of these card games maybe are, because they're so easy to develop compared to everything else. So basically what ends up happening is you know, there's some interns of the company or just whatever, they're doing these pet projects like, oh, see what you can do with it, it's a cute little card game, whatever. But then it became such a big deal that it ended up making more money than Heroes of the Storm or other, you know, major AAA titles that they did. So they didn't put too much into it at the beginning, but then it sort of took off. So with this, it's kind of different because this is all the franchise is known for is the card game. Like, it's not like they have an MMO and all these kind of other things. Yeah, like with Elder Scrolls Legends, it's the same thing, but they kind of outsource that to another company like Direwolf Digital or something. In fact, I don't even know who makes this if it's not. I mean, obviously Wizards of the Coast or whatever, the company who owns the card game, but as far as the actual developer, I don't know if it's somebody else or how they did it. So I should just basically do the daily quest. I almost want to do an arena, and this almost seems encouraging, like we had 3,000 left over, but I just don't know what to really do with it. I should try to make some other decks at least that are not that are a little bit different. Just try some other mechanics. That's part of what the whole point of this series was just like, I'm not really trying to do anything in particular. I'm just sort of increasing my collection. I guess my only stated goal was I want to collect every green card in the game, but that's not even like a hard well, it's pretty unrealistic that I'll be able to do that because expansions keep coming out. But aside from collecting just every green card because I love green, you know, sometimes I have like on a whim, if I had more time, I would do this more often. Like, oh, next month I have to get to Mythic, otherwise I have to delete my account. So I would just have to, you know, make the best of what I have and try to do that, which I probably could do pretty simply because I just have to actually net deck, which I haven't done. But yeah, it's more important for me to just like play with interesting different mechanics and stuff than to try to actually build something meta. In a weird way, and it almost sounds like an excuse, is like I almost try to do it the opposite. I'll try to avoid what I think is gonna be meta just for that reason alone. Yeah, let's actually make something new, and I don't know what it's gonna be. Like, let's say I was to make a white-only deck with the best white cards that I have. But the problem is there's just way too many. I'm not a big fan of the hybrid stuff, but obviously the ability to do it is very good. Yeah, let's become the very thing we swore to destroy and actually use white. Although now the daily quests are going to be a little bit conflicted with that. Like, this game is so good in so many ways, but for some reason it doesn't feel like it's gotten the same attention as other games. Like, I don't know. It maybe has like that similar quality to chess, another chess comparison, just like it's sort of, we'll do like a round robin, I guess, with the red and the white one I'm about to make. In fact, I'll maybe even remake the red one. Like, it has this elitist gatekeeping feel, maybe, which I always kind of like in a way. That, like, oh, there's a lot of hardcore competitive players and this and that, and so you're either in that group or you just don't play the game. Very few people would probably play it casually. Like format, I think all I've really played is historic period, and I would even do like some sort of historic anthology type of game mode, but those are like way too competitive. There's like one you can buy into for like 2k gold or something. I'm never a samurai, so I'm not going to do archetypal stuff. That's almost how I would make decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or try to build stuff. Like, anytime I mention an archetype, I immediately check out. Samurai, I don't care, right? Because it's not even whether I like or dislike the archetype, it just makes it too insular. I'm always a fan of mid-range type stuff that's like, just good value, good effects, period. Or maybe even no effect, but just like, good value no matter what. It doesn't rely on any synergy or any sort of, and usually those decks aren't really good, right? But Yu-Gi-Oh! Abuses archetypes even worse than anything else. Like, everything is just like, it'll have like this super verbose card text, more longer than most of these even, right? Magic kind of is the middle of the road. Some of them are super long, but a lot of them are kind of okay, like to the point. But it has like super long walls of text on a card, and it'll just be like, it only works with this other card, and if you have this other card too, like all sharing the same name or archetype, then it does something extra. And if you have this other card too on top of that, right, it'll do something else even then. So it's just way too specific. So it makes it seem maybe more complex than what it is. It actually specifies it to where it's just very contrived. Target creature gets +1/+2. Return target creature you control to its owner's hand. So the way that some of this is written actually kind of annoys me, though, because to its owner's hand, like, well, I guess this would be in the case of a mind control. Like, if you were controlling theirs for the turn, it would return it to their hand. But a lot of it's like to an opponent, deal 4 damage to an opponent. So the natural instinct is you think, oh, to an opponent, like an enemy minion. But no, it means like if you're fighting 2 people at once. 2 players at once, which doesn't really seem to happen in this game, or it kind of toys with that idea as far as either they should have changed the text to match the fact that every game is a 1v1, or they should have a mode that lets you go 2v2, which as far as I've seen, at least, there isn't one. Maybe I've just somehow missed it. How are we looking on cards here? 5, 3. I'll go on a binge and just craft a bunch of stuff just because I'm like, let's try this new mechanic. Like, I did that with Toxic. I did that with Hexproof. It took me a while to actually try Hexproof. Either I didn't understand exactly what it did, or I didn't connect it to what my favorite effect in card games usually is, which is just force you to play on the board and you can't use removal. You can still use AoEs and silence or exile and stuff, but I don't know what silence is actually called in this game. Like, there's some sort of there are a lot of things which sort of just tap or bypass the effect of something, but it's not like just one effect. Creatures you control get +1/+1. It costs 5. Vigilance till end of next turn. Activate only during your turn. Sacrifice the bomb. Okay. I always just like how this one looked. Or in fact, a lot of the art in this game is actually pretty serious and like not super cartoonish, which I like. Sacrifice it. Creature gets +2/+2. Gains flying. Yeah, I always wanted to try like just more so something that resembles the physical game more. Right? There's a lot of these cards in here that are just specific to the digital space, so that leads me to believe that people would sort of look down on it, whether it be professional players or people who have spent thousands of dollars in real life on the cards would be resentful. That's always the sort of gimmick of the digital card games, is just you're gonna, like, anybody who's competitive in there. Maybe that's why I didn't do it for Hearthstone. Like, I clearly could have done it, and I even had, I was getting Legend even as a free-to-play player early on. Not that that's even, like, such a flex, but just by playing the game so much, if you want to be a professional player in any card game, you have to spend money on it. Not because, oh, you couldn't get the same collection otherwise, but it would just take too long. Instead of spending your time trying to build up your collection, you would be spending your time trying to use the full collection that you spent money on to try to ladder and get to legend rank 1 and get your tournament points and whatever, and just trying to practice the meta. You wouldn't want to waste time. Like, a new expansion comes out and anybody who's serious is going to have all the cards already, right? They're not going to dick around and try to, like, oh yeah, let me try to do arena for a whole week and save up packs and hopefully get what I need to get. Or I guess on one hand, you could have so many cards and stuff saved up. If you play so much, then you could do it the other way. Like, you have like 50 mythic rare wild cards saved up just from playing all the time and whatever. And so therefore now you can go into the next expansion and craft every single thing just because. It's a very interesting decision that you can't disenchant stuff in this game. And again, in the long run, it actually ends up helping me because I would do it in a very flippant way. Like, let's disenchant every white and blue card just so I can make more green cards. So maybe if we did that, we could almost fill our green collection all the way already, but I doubt it. Enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1. Okay, I don't want stuff that's going to be insular synergies like that. When it dies, create a toxic. Like, it doesn't really match with white so much to do toxic, but everybody can potentially do it. Or there is a shocking lack of hexproof minions in the game. When you look at the fact that, yeah, maybe today I'll just spend time looking at decks and making decks. I almost don't like how messy my thing is. Like, I almost want to disenchant or destroy all of these, but there doesn't seem to be a limit of really how many of these you could make. I don't know. I don't like this. Looks kind of ugly. Like how many I have. Oh, 47 out of 100. Yeah, they make you spend money on that too, but actually they don't seem to have ever, bothered me with that. This game's very good about not doing a bunch of pop-ups. Like, whenever you open the game, it'll show you like maybe one thing and then that's it. It won't like say, oh, there's this new deal and $4.99, buy this, buy that. You have to go looking for it at least. But I better at least do the daily quest. But no, I almost want to make like a new deck with like whatever I have, because I haven't, like, I've had some of these decks just sitting around for a super long time. I don't really change them too much. I just go in, I play, I don't worry about it. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't waste money on any of these unless it's a really cool cosmetic. Then I might. We're almost at the 1-year anniversary of the one potential condition I would have done too. Like where I said, like in October of last year, if I don't get that skeleton, I was trying to save up like 10K for that. If I don't get that skeleton, then I have to... Leaving soon. Maybe I want the Sauron sleeve. It doesn't even look that good though, really. If I don't get the 10K thing, then I have to delete my account or something, but I didn't actually commit to that. I was just trying to come up with a format for it, period. I mean, the One Ring was almost tempting, but I can't even get it, period. It'd be 15K. I'd have to save up for that specifically. But I did love that one draft that was sort of just, it was like it was meant to be. The 1 week I happened to be doing the 10K draft had to be the same week that was the anniversary. They gave me a special mode to try. So like 1 card at a time, rotating draft picks. The cards will be added to your auction. You'll use them as basic, plus basic lands to build a 40-card deck, play and receive based on how many you win. 250, yeah, that's sort of a choke point. Like it should be 250, 5, 1,000, 15, whatever. But the fact that it jerks you around that bad makes that 2 to 3 points so horrible. Even if you average 3 wins between doing daily quests and just playing the game, you could earn the other 500, although you can't because it'll be gold instead of, there'll be different currencies, so that is kind of annoying. I don't know what this pose is that she's doing exactly. Throne of Eldraine. Yeah, let's just dig around with our collection, actually, for the most part, then. We'll make a white deck, like our first ever that I'm going to actually have any interest in using. Now, why is this different? I guess because we're not in Historic yet. Direct game bound. I don't know what some of these even are. What is a direct game? Oh, I messed it up already. Go back, do it again. Yeah, in a way, this game just felt kind of like underrated. Like, I never really heard, like, this specific version, I mean. Obviously, Magic you've heard about in general, but I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Just focus, make a historic deck with whatever. Yeah, I just want to put, like, the best value cards in there. It doesn't matter if +1/+0, draw a card. Like, none of this really stands out. Just give me, like, well-statted minions, which most colors don't seem to have that. In fact, red almost seems antithetical to that. It'll have, like, a 5-mana 3/3 dragon just because it's flying and maybe has some little effect, but it really goes against like the 5 mana 10/10 ideology of green, where everything is just way statted better than its value. Fox Pilot, when it enters the battlefield, conjure a card names that suit to your hand. Okay, I don't care about vehicles and stuff. When this creature dies, put its counters on a target creature you control. I just want some of that heal buff shenanigans that's like way overused. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. But why would I even do that when I just probably have like a million angels that are flying anyway? But yeah, I made like 3 of these, which was a waste of whatever those cards, because I won't be able to use them, right? You need some kind of other. If Frodo Sauron's Bane is a citizen that becomes a halfling scout with base toughness, your ring bearer, like, I don't get it. As the ring tempts you, it just happens on its own, right? You get an emblem named the ring if you don't have one. Then your emblem gains its next ability and you choose a creature you control to become your ring bearer. Every time the ring tempts you, whenever it deals damage to a player, they lose the game if it's tempted you 4 or more times. Like, I'll just do it for the heck of it, but I don't think it's really too relevant. Or with the planes, we have to do the same thing too. We don't want just a plain land. We want, you know, whatever. We can have like one of each. Different picture for them. When the cat dies, create a 1/1 token. Like, there's no value in most of the stuff, unless you have some real combo with it. 2 tap target creature. That's actually kind of a good effect. I kind of find that pretty interesting. It's not really worth it, but creature gets +1/+1. I haven't really liked equip stuff too much. There's that one really cool one that says as long as this is equipped to something, you can't lose the game. So I always compare that to like darts against Yugi, where he's like, you know, as long as you have the Divine Serpent, you can't lose, even if your life points hit 0. Just a very unique effect. Equipped creature can't be blocked by creatures of power 4 or greater. It's actually not bad. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, gains vigilance till end of turn. Don't want that. This reminds me of that scene at the beginning of Hellraiser where he's like trying to solve the puzzle around the candles. I guess any sort of occult activity could be seen like that. He's about to get hooked in real bad. The way they showed it is kind of funny though. It's like, what happens when you solve the puzzle? Oh, they just have all these meat hooks and they just tear you apart. Like his famous line, "We'll tear your soul apart." No, it's more like you'll tear his body apart. Am I right? Because that's what they do if you've seen it. Like there's no other seeming activity that goes on there. So it's like they talk about like, oh, you'll taste our pleasures and this and that. You just don't see anything. Human Warlock training, remove 2 +1/+1s, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I mean, it's not bad if you're going to, whenever it attacks with another creature greater power, put a +1/+1. Attacks with what? Like, it could be okay, I guess. Like, we'll maybe be a little picky, or I maybe shouldn't have too many copies of the same. How does this even work? Like, what if I play 3 of them? Whenever this creature deals common damage to a player, they lose the game if the ring is tempted to do 3 or more times. What is causing the ring to tempt me anyway? As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the ring. Then your emblem gains its next ability. You choose a creature to become your next ring bearer. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked, sacrifice at end of combat. I don't really get what's causing you to be tempted though. But I typically don't craft like that. I'll craft like one thing of each. I think the Carnage Tyrant was next on my list just because I wanted to complete my little hexproof thing. It's not even that good, but just it can't be countered, so it really takes the power out of your opponent's hand. Like my old saying was always, it's more important to make your opponent feel powerless than it is to actually win the game. Which is why so many of my theme decks are so horrible, because I just, you know, focus on that instead. It's like some sort of a card game fetish. You really want to just use Jinzo, Spell Canceller, all this kind of shenanigans. Put a +1/+1 counter, vehicle, don't care. Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible. So I guess I'll only do the hard white stuff. Like, I won't do any mix. Especially not white and blue hybrid. That'd just be silly. Artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible till end of next turn, or end of turn. I mean, I like that, but it's not going to be worth it, really. Destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less. Gain 3 life, I don't care. Enchant creature, 1 military Discipline enters the battlefield. I almost would read a disciple, is what I expected it to say. Enchanted creature gets first strike. Okay, I don't care. The way that I play some of these games is weird because it's almost like I'm playing like a single player game. Like I just want to get immersed in it. I just want to take my time. Like I never do stuff in a hurry. What's sad about that though is my philosophy was sort of like, because I stream every day or because I would go for such long periods of time, it would feel justified because like if I'm doing 6-hour sessions or whatever, then you're going to make progress despite the fact that you're really slow pacing it. Now I'm still slow pacing it because I don't want to change my style of doing things and the way I enjoy it, but because it's so short, then it really does feel like you're not accomplishing anything. 1 mana, 1/1 with flying for 4, tap something. Now, why would you ever do that when you have this? In fact, I don't even want him, but it's such a cool thing. Like, you could just lock down something way more powerful as the game goes on. Pious Wayfarer. Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, I'm not going to have too many of those. This ability triggers when an enchantment enters the battlefield. Every footstep is a prayer. Every road a temple. Portable Hole. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls a mana value 2 or less. 2 or less is too useless though. Destroy target tapped creature. Okay, kicker blue. Just a cat. Like white has a lot of cats for whatever reason. Enchant creature, and obviously 9 lives is going to be here too, which really triggered me the first time I read it, except just because I didn't read it all the way. I love that I said that too. I read the first part, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. It should make it so that once you take that many hits, you lose the game. Otherwise, that would be unfair. But it does say that in the next part. I was just so mad, I didn't even look at it. Enchant creature, +1/+1 vigilance, don't care. Flying vigilance, I mean, I do want to abuse the flying thing. That's been sort of almost like a bitter thing I've been trying to do. Like, flying has messed me over so many times that I almost want to just... that's why I made like that blue-green hybrid with only flying stuff, to sort of show that even though green doesn't have too many flying things, I want to make like a green-focused deck that would be very unconventional, where you commit to that. That's one of my trademarks. Like, you'll take one mechanic and have a whole deck just with that. So like, I like lifelink, so I'll use like only lifelink minions, even if there's no other synergy or common thread besides that, or like hexproof, which usually the best decks are not like that at all, because you would have some kind of win condition, or you would be just like maybe well statted or aggro or something. Target blocking, basically the point of why mid-range appeals to me is often because you get to like put stuff on the board and actually appreciate its presence there for a little bit, and then the outcome will happen if you win on the board. So for example, hexproof is perfect for that. You put something down, they can't deal with it very easily or at all, and then they have to either fight it out or just lose. There's no way to cheat the process. Even if you AoE, you know, it's like, okay, fine, how much AoE are they really going to have? Which in this game is shocking, actually, how little we see on a regular basis. It's not like in Hearthstone where every game you're expecting to see 2 or 3 AoEs no matter what, guaranteed. That just doesn't happen. Target blocking or block, that might happen as you get in the meta, but even at a low level in Hearthstone, it's just so abundant. Even at the beginning of the game, you know, there was enough that you would see the same ones over and over. Target blocking or block creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is like something you see almost just in the tutorial. Transform it, activate only as a sorcery to a 4/3, but it costs 5. So like, why can be paid either with either green or 2 life, but it would still cost 4. Like, I don't get what the value of it really is. Put a +1/+1 counter for 5. Like, some of this stuff is so inefficient, dude. I know like White likes to buff stuff, but yeah, I saw this thing like years back where certain cards were getting banned or removed and changed because they were somehow considered offensive. But it's a fictional thing, right? You should be able to portray fictional stuff happening. Like, for example, all these minions are fighting each other and killing each other. So, oh, that would be bad too. Like, because that happens in real life too, and that's not good when it does. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a fictional portrayal of fictional people doing things that are potentially bad. Like, that's part of the point. Make a retreat. Return target creature you own, you control. Target creature gets +1/+3. None of this stuff really appeals to me. But see how many cards I actually have. We're still at the 1 cost thing. Let's actually go a little bit faster through this. I'm just sort of scanning out for stuff that doesn't look good. or like that's specific to synergies and stuff. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. I don't really need a token though, so I guess I don't have some of those 1 cost or really cheap stuff that gives you health and buffs endlessly. Or tapped creature. Then if you control an artifact or enchantment, create a 2/2 samurai. Like, this is almost good because destroy up to 1 tapped creature. Oh, but it's not instant. But like, that could be good period. This is base removal. Like, you bait them to attack with it and then you just do it. Here, let's put 2 of those in there. Gets +1/+0 for each legendary creature you control. That's unlikely to be too relevant. Enters the battlefield with an oil counter. Don't really care. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Exile all graveyards. Citizen's Crowbar enters the battlefield. Gordon Freeman cosplayer, role player. Or yeah, there was some poll on YouTube, like, everybody was saying that on who's the best theoretical physicist. And they were asking, like, Oppenheimer, Einstein, other people. But then a lot of people were just commenting Gordon Freeman, of course, because he is. Who had barely achieved the distinction of his PhD at the time of the Black Mesa incident, as Dr. Breen is so salty to say. Like, how is he's not some covert operative? So how is he able to clown the Combine like that? Target creature gets +2/+2. Toxic, draw a card. Enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0. That's actually not bad. It's a 2-mana 3/1, and it's going to give the +2/+0. I can't argue with that. I'm almost trying to do it like where I would have like 1 of each thing just to, just to try it out, because most of these cards I haven't used. Destroy a creature with toughness of 4 or greater, target enchantment. I can't argue with that. You should almost have more of them, come to think of it, but destroy target artifact or enchantment. So why would you ever have that when, like, this is just such a good card? I can't argue with it. Well, I should go with 4 and 4, even though I just said that I'm trying not to do that. 4 damage to a target attacking or blocking creature. Again, what's the point? Because presumably, if it's going to have 4 health anyway, that'll just be better. Sort of a power creep moment, but I wouldn't know the difference in a lot of these anyway. But like, you can tell by the expansion, but I assume this is newer than other things, but maybe not. As long as it's your turn, has first strike, fine. I don't even think I want to bother crafting anything, or I could look through it in the same way, but whenever you cast or copy, okay, I'm not going to do that until end of turn. Like, where's all the stupid stuff that I always see? Like, where they're just buffing stuff and like this, yeah. Expedition Healer has lifelink as long as you control another cleric. Double strike, don't care. Just flying, healing, and buffing. Those are the only 3 mechanics you need to worry about, and they often feed into each other. Each other angel enters the battlefield, additional +1/+1 for each other angel. Spend this mana, only cast angel spell. Like, I don't know how many angels I'm really going to do, but whenever you gain life, like, that alone can just win you the game if you can't deal with it and don't have removal. Or maybe that's just me, that sort of self-tell. Like, oh, who would ever be in a situation where you wouldn't have removal? But in a lot of my decks I didn't, because it was, even what I did have was like Master's Rebuke only, so it requires something to still be out there on the field. Or like the Indrik is a good example. Like, oh, it's a minion that counts as removal because you play it and then attack something, but it's not very cost efficient. Chain creature can't attack or block unless and has 7 sacrifices and draws a card, activate only as a sorcery. So that's pretty good as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm just putting too many of these things in. So for 2, you can enchant something. It can attack or block. 7, hold for ransom controller, sacrifices it, and draws a card. Now, does that mean sacrifices it just the hold for ransom? Or does it mean that they sacrifice the creature too? Because then that would just be bullshit. Whenever another creature enters under your control, so you do 3 of those, you should almost have 4 of them. I'll even do that. Even though I also just said I wouldn't really craft stuff. I don't know what that one card back is that looks like this base one. You saw it for a second there. That's in the shop. Like, oh, the anniversary edition. But it just looks identical to it. Okay, I don't care about that. I've avoided a lot of these other things. Like, whatever. What are these even called? A saga. Or like, whatever. The battlefields. I've avoided the planeswalkers. Like, I'm mostly just focused on minions. But I guess I was using planeswalkers a little bit. Just in the overall experience, I've used them very seldom. Equal damage to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. Or like, yeah, at the beginning, I thought planeswalker was the hero. So you can just one-shot them. You have hexproof. Each opponent... Yeah, see, that one I don't really care too much about. The whenever there's a card like what's that one in Hearthstone? Your hero can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, but who cares about that? If you would gain life, gain that much life +1 instead. I'm not really a big fan of that though. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Don't care, don't care. That looks pretty sick though. Lifelink when another creature enters under your control gets until end of turn though. Why not just permanently? Because that's how some of these work. This thing confused me a lot in the tutorial, just how first strike works, I guess, because I'm stupid. Enchanted creature can attack or block. Now, isn't that just better than hold for ransom objectively? This is what I kind of don't like. Even in my own free-to-play self-built collection, right, randomly acquired cards, what is the benefit? Can attack or block and has for 7, sacrifice and draw a card. Like, why would I have that when I have this? Maybe I'll put a 4th one. Like, this is a good card. There's probably better versions of it, but I can't believe I'm actually committing to white for now. But I guess I've just we're doing the underplayed class round robin 2 times in a row, 2 days in a row. Once for Hearthstone, where I end up playing priest. How ironic. And now here where I'm playing white. Maybe there's a common denominator. There could be some sort of style of play that I just don't like. Although it's not going to be as slow and annoying as control based, because you don't really have all the high-end cards anyway to be able to do that. It's not even that I hate control that much, but just that style of it somehow gets boring, especially playing at low ranks. Like, if you are going to do a ladder climb, you should save that for the end if you have no choice. But like, who wants to go from the bottom tier, like bronze rank, all the way up through silver, gold, this and that? Because even if you have a 100% win rate, it's going to take forever in some of those games, and it's going to be your fault that it does, because that's just the style of play, even if everything goes right. Put its counters on target creature you control whenever it attacks with another creature with greater power. That has a certain amount of potential. I'll put one of them in there. Artifact, don't care. Artifact, I'm just like scanning for keywords to try to avoid them. When it dies, tap Power Stone token, tap target creature, draw a card. That almost combos with certain things, but you don't really need to worry about that. It connives. Some of these keywords are so funny too. Yeah, I was doing like a little Seinfeld thing. What's it called? Proliferate. Yeah, like, you ever play that card game? Wow, that's the most nerdy function ever. I'm proliferating. I'll proliferate all over your face if you're not careful. You better watch my proliferation. Like, it just sounds so stupid. Put your backs into it. If we don't lay claim, the Pelagi will. Turn artifact creature 3 or less. Return target spell to its owner's hand. But yeah, like, even blue you would think I would like, because it has a lot of stuff that could counter spells and whatnot. But it's surprising it didn't have as many hexproof minions as I even thought. It almost, I would associate it more with that. Green kind of clutched it. I wasn't thinking that green would have too many of them. Maybe that's why I avoided the mechanic. But then I realized it actually had a ton. Or at least relative to how few there are in the game period. Enters 1/1, doesn't matter. Or you should do stuff that summons tokens, because every time you do, it's going to basically, man, that's a sick picture. But you're not doing an artifact or enchantment, you're actually doing a minion there, right? Like what she's destroying. Maybe one of those. Whenever it becomes tabs, yeah, I'll do it for the cosmetics. Cool to choose the coolest looking stuff, not... It just looks like you're soloing a raid boss or something. Something out of Dark Souls. Creatures you control get +1, but it's too bright to be Dark Souls. +1/+1 if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Samwise. Enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there this turn. Turn it to your hand, the ring tempts you. Yeah, see, I should do these just because of that, but I don't really understand what else is causing it to tempt me. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. So you would have to play this, do 3 black, which I'm not even going to have black. So it doesn't really fit, but for whatever reason, I just wanted to craft 3 of those when it first came out. Destroy target, because at least it's a win condition, but it's not one that you're going to be very likely to get. You could actually make, you know what, dude? It would only be fitting. Like, this will be the way that the ring tempts you. Fuck it. I will do it. You have 3 of these and 3 of the Frodos. So how many times does the ring have to tempt you? 4 or more times. Like, he'll be the only way that we can do it, though. Oh, that seems weird. Like, it is a win condition, but it's not going to really matter. Enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. And that's a specific condition too. So I just wasted all those, even though that's like a low caliber wild card. You gain 3 life. Now see, isn't that just the same thing we did? Destroy artifact or enchantment, but I would do that just for the picture. Or didn't we have something that was already better than that? Now I already forgot. Destroy evil. Destroy target enchantment, so you almost just don't even need it. Giant tigers, when they have just flavor text instead of card text on the card itself. Like normally the flavor text is off to the side somewhere, like that. You're arrested for gate breaking, blah, blah, blah. Vigilance 2/2, don't care. The samurais I'm going to try to stay away from. This was in the tutorial. That might be the first thing you actually ever see or play. You and your opponent each draw a card. Flying lifelink. The ring tempts you. Yeah, we just need more cards like that. That'll be sort of our subliminal win condition, even though it's really not. It is such a fun subject matter. It just feels weird, right, that they are able to just rip stuff off like that. Obviously with the permission and everything, but it really caught me by surprise how much that happens. Exile target creature you own, then return it under your control. The ring tempts you. So we should have 4 of these as well. So now we are setting up, because the fact that we have 3 Frodos makes it pretty hard to stop that from happening. Or it'll soak up so much removal. Then return it to the battlefield. Now that would only help if you're trying to remove some sort of debuff maybe from it. Enter the battlefield, draw a card, don't care. Exile a card from your graveyard, gets flying till end of turn. Most of this doesn't seem to... I just want stuff that's well statted now. +1/+1 on target creature gains indestructible till end of turn. If that's instant, you could maybe justify it. It is. Exile target spirit, double strike, gains indestructible, 4 power or greater. For 2, which this would be as well. That's what I hate though too. Like you're going through it like, oh, you want to see... First of all, we already have too much stuff, so my curve is already ruined. I don't know, man. White sucks. Even though I always lose to it, so who am I to say that? You just give me well statted. Like, can I filter by well statted, proper minion, basic mid-range quality, rather than all this other nonsense that I don't want? But then by that logic, just play as green. But a +1/+1 counter, yeah, we get it. Always the buff shenanigans. There's that one guy I always see that I forgot, but he has the same effect. He's like a 2 cost, and he's like a little... I don't know how to explain it. Do a little bit higher cost stuff, and then I'll get... Or this is annoying. Whenever it attacks, create 2 1/1s that are tapped and attacking, and that's good because it'll, you know, correspond to the heals and buffs and stuff. Let's see if this is worth it. As long as the Wandering Emperor entered the battlefield... Shouldn't it be more like the Wandering Empress, though? Enter the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you cast an instant. +1/+1 gains first strike, created 2/2. Actually, that's fine to have 1 of them. Or maybe 2. I don't know how we're going to fit all this, though. And now here we get into the Angels, at least. Enters, but a +1/+1 is good, but it costs 5, you know? Tap all creatures your opponent control creatures. You control, gain lifelink till end of turn. Little expensive and not super interesting to me. Choose a number between 0 and 13. They sacrifice that many creatures, but it wouldn't work because you would only be able to do it if you had that many to sacrifice, I'm sure. Whenever an enchantment, don't care. As an additional cost to cast white permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those cost 2 less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of white mana you pay. Whenever you cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1. I mean, it's a 5 mana 5/5, so in itself, that's okay. The Resplendent, like, I just don't have enough room for... Or you know what, you could do that. You could go overboard and actually have over 60 cards, too, but... we normally don't get the time to play the Planeswalkers. And, like, I don't have as much good flying stuff as what I thought. The 5 mana 4/4... It's just nothing too special about it. When it enters, you gain 4 life. I don't care. Flying 3/4. Enters, exile up to 1 card from your graveyard. 4/3. Is there some... When it enters, the ring tempts you. So now we have to commit to this, although I don't have enough of them. Stalwarts of... Isn't that so fun? Like, not paying attention to your collection because you only do drafts and you only play constructed with the same deck over and over. So you come here and you realize, wow, look at all this cool stuff I have that I didn't even know about, that I didn't disenchant like a clown because I normally would do that. Or I might have even missed something that says that too, but whenever one or more creatures attack, they gain indestructible. That's actually very good. Flying, as long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. Don't care. Whenever another creature with 2 or less enters, you gain 1 life and draw a card. But it's a 1/4. 6 mana 1/4. Create 4 1/1s. I don't care. Creatures you control with +1/+1 have base power and toughness 4. Flying angels, additional types, fine. Prototype. I always am a huge fan of dinosaurs, but just because they're usually well statted. But here we go, it's not. 6 mana 3/3. When it attacks, other creatures gain double strike till end of turn. Could be a good finisher card. Destroy all non-land permanents. I guess one of those is maybe reasonable to have, as much as I say there's no AoE, or at the very least I haven't used any. Return all creature and planeswalkers with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, we clearly don't have room for all this, but I'll consider it. Or no, that's actually it though. So we didn't have very many high cost cards, that means. Okay, so let's get rid of stuff that absolutely won't be too useful. Or I don't know how to decide this. Like, a lot of the stuff isn't really good, but some of these things I feel bad for not having 4 of. Let me just bring the 4 to 2 of each of these, even though that seems like a bad idea. Or the only thing that I would do that for is make an exception for is somebody who's doing the ring tempting thing, even though that's not truly a good win condition here because it's just kind of random. Whatever, we're just giving these white ones a chance to shine, which is maybe a bad idea. Or, you know, I should also get rid of, like, the 2 planeswalkers. You don't need that many of them. Cam-wise, so yeah, we just happen to have him. But, you know, he's legendary, but he wasn't mythic. That's what you could sometimes confuse, right? Just because something is legendary doesn't mean it'll actually be that good. Angelic Guardian, like, I almost want to do it like this, but you'll only have 15 lands, so you'll lose a lot of games just because of that alone. You should have probably closer to 20. But then again, most of my stuff is low cost, so I arguably don't even need it. But then you'll never get to the point where... I love the one that's like a city. Like, oh yeah, this used to be the plains, but we forgot to update... You know, we updated the picture to modern human society. Doesn't that look like such a wonderful plain? Like somehow city and technology is associated with white. Even a lot of the mechs are, but that kind of is confusing too because, you know, they're also white, but they're not actually, you know, just the base color that has no affiliation also is white. I mean, I'm kind of okay with doing this. I don't really know. 15. Like, how much land do I have in a normal deck? But the problem is that 15 is not enough even then, but like... Normally I have all these mana generating minions, which you're not having here. And now I have to count them manually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So it's about the same. But yeah, you have to remember that portion of it. As long as you start with... I love that you can do that. You can choose the picture for your base... you can choose the picture for your base color because... Let's actually do best of 3 too. For the front of your whatever your card box from any card in the game. It doesn't even have to be something that's in your deck, I don't think. So I use that imp one, like burning down the house. Now this is not the generic one that you start with, although it kind of is, but you actually have to pay for that one, right? If you want to get it, like the adventurer skin. That was kind of unexpected that I suddenly just decided to commit to white here. Yeah, all you got to do is mulligan for land, and if you don't do that, then plains, we'll do it like this. Get rid of that, get rid of that. So the point is, most of the stuff in here is pretty low curve. So I think that makes it so that it's okay to only have 15, but let's see how far we can really get with this. You won't be able to ever do the black thing, so the only thing you're doing is... If he's a scout... Or wait, I won't even be able to do that because... You win the game if it's tempted you 4 or more times, but I have no way of actually becoming that. That would be really inconvenient to do. If it's a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power toughness 2 and 3. If it's a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue. I don't know how you're determining that though. Still, like the ring, like when you play it, it's a citizen. So then it upgrades to a scout. Yeah, that black is what makes it annoying. I don't want to have black land in here, but I also don't want to. There might just be no way to do it the way my thing is built. I forgot about the most important thing. It's kind of this just there as a troll anyway. It's not like we're really going to win because of it. But there weren't too many things in white that gave you like, oh, 1 mana of any color. If I had at least some minions that did that, then it would make sense. That might be the one change that we make. Yeah, I guess we got that card back just for entering into the draft overall. Not because we won like a certain number of games or whatever. Or speaking of being so reticent to have over 60 cards in your deck, look at this guy just trolling with over almost 200. That is such a badass title for just a random hobbit that you wouldn't think of that, but... And he truly wasn't the Bane. Gollum was the Bane because he liked the ring so much he accidentally took it with him and fell in the lava with it. So here we'll get +1/+1. But we don't have anything that's giving us actually life. Regardless of the ring tempting us, loses the game if it's tempted you 4 or more times. We just don't have a way to do that though. Why are they being so weird? They hate playing against white almost as much as I hate it. Yeah, we're missing a few of those things. It's like a bartender or somebody who's like the 1/1 that gives you 1 life. Oh, he might even be green too. But I would never dare make a green-white hybrid and taint the perfection of green with this nonsense. They should make a MOBA and she could be one of the cool characters shooting fireballs out of her hand. And you could do so much with this franchise. They should totally sell out. They've been too honorable so far, just maybe unable or unwilling to sort of branch out. You could make an MMO of Magic the Gathering. You could make a MOBA. You could make anything like that Diablo style, whatever. There was something in the works, which I keep forgetting the name of. They're totally going to do it too. I would love an MMO. Based around like all the cards and lore and Magic, aside from the ones that they rip off from other series, which maybe is most of them, unfortunately. I don't really know. It makes me sort of start to doubt it when you see like Baldur's Gate and Lord of the Rings and stuff now. Like, what are they doing, dude? You're gonna lose your coveted silver ranking. I do love the best of 3 format so much though. It's such a good thing for any card game or even any like turn-based game. Like chess should even have that. When you queue up, it's not fair. Oh, I play as black, they play as white, so they have an objective advantage. That's not how it works in real life or in competitive play, because you have to give everybody equal chance to play as the favored side. Here, it's not so much about that. Maybe like whether who goes first or second, but even that has its ups and downs. But it's more like based around the fact that you could just get really lucky RNG or really unlucky RNG, so it equals it out. Whoever wins 2 out of 3, then you can't really say it. Like, oh, I got really unlucky, I top decked the wrong thing, or some interaction just went wrong. This game doesn't have as many sort of like random effects, though, thankfully, as like, let's say, Hearthstone, whether it be, you know, discover effects and stuff. And even though those are fun and some of my favorite effects, they're not really that good. Like, well, they're not necessarily good for the game, I mean. We have so much stuff that really factors into the ring. It's just a question of I don't have the black. That's very annoying. And then you would still want to give it like rush or something. Whenever deals combat damage to a player, like think about how hard that would still be to do for me. I don't have a way to reliably get it off. It's not like my whole deck is necessarily built around that. We do a best of 3 just to not even be able to play. And I thought it normally is tedious and annoying and takes too long, but look at this guy. He's just punishing me for playing as white. But yeah, it definitely seems to have some budget capabilities because we've seen like a million of those heal buff decks just over the course of low ranks, and it's almost often using the same cards over and over and over. That's a form of metagaming, I guess, still, like making the cheapest, most effective possible thing still at a low level. Or at least it would work really well against my decks because I wouldn't have any removal or I wouldn't have any sort of AoE and stuff, so the tokens and stuff would just get out of control. Like, I'll take it, but I did kind of just want to play the game. I definitely should try to do the daily quest at least, but you know, I call them weekly quests, but then they turn into monthly quests because I won't even do them still within the course of anything. He's just trying to cuck my ability to even do them. Yeah, let's rethink this a little bit as far as the land, because I can't figure out. We need one that has like mana of any color effect. Is there nothing in white that would give that to me? Why is it showing me that? I'm saying only white. Add 1 mana of any color for 2. So could I do that? Sacrifice it, destroy target creature enchantment. Enchant non-land permanent with... Is a treasure artifact. Sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color. Or couldn't there be one that just like for 1 turn gives you like 3 mana of any color? Add 1 mana of any color, vigilance. I don't really have very many cards like that. But let's even look within this. They're not just a minion that does that normally, and of course there's not, because this isn't green, but it's white. Each creature you control has add 1 mana of any color. I mean, that would make it worth it alone. That could be a finisher if you have flood the board. Only to activate the ability of a creature, which it is. Activate only if this creature has another activated ability. This creature or that creature? Mill 5 cards, put all creature cards. I don't fully understand that. Only activate only if this creature has another activated ability. This creature meaning Tazri, or this creature meaning the creature was talking about with... That would be perfect. I guess I can still try it. I'm wasting all my wild cards again on stuff that doesn't even have like a consistent theme to it. Double strike. That would be the best way to actually do it. Just that'll give you like way more. So maybe something with 4, although I don't want to. I don't know what I could get rid of. Angelic Guardian, gain indestructible. I mean, it's a very good card. I almost don't even like the Planeswalkers, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Most of the stuff is pretty good value. Like, I can't argue with it. When it dies, put its counters on another creature. I really can't even decide. I'll get rid of a land because clearly I don't need that. Basically what I'm saying is you mulligan hard for the land, and if you don't get it, you just resign because that's okay. I guess I could alternate these as well, and if I lose, I'll alternate decks like I normally do. We'll go back to green and just try to do the daily quest, but if not, it's okay, I guess. Or maybe once we win in both formats, we should switch anyway. We have 2 planes, which is okay. So I almost want to test how this works, but it only works if the creature has another activated ability. Then it's only mana to activate the ability of a creature. Activate only if this creature has another activated ability. So it might just not work, period. Comes a 2/3 with toughness, lifelink. Like, it's a 1-cost card still, so it's not even bad value, but if you're going to commit to it so hard, you should have some sort of payoff for it. Now, I'm not going to get any land for, like, the rest of the game. Fine. Destroy targeted artifact or enchantment. Game 3 life. I mean, obviously, you can overheal like a fiend here, which can be... Oh, yeah, that's another thing that would just sort of wreck my deck. Like, if they can overheal, then I can't rush them down. Even though I wasn't an aggro deck, really, it sort of takes on that characteristic a little bit. Or we're going to get out-whited by white. Or there was that one thing that's like if you have like 7 more health than your opponent. You already have a copy. Oh god. But we made this guy somebody else. Are you sure? Because it's such a stupid play to make, I guess. Yeah, I can't really figure out how to do that black. I mean, obviously you'd have to tailor make this deck a little better. That's always the means argument that I could use to sort of explain my card game experience. Is like, it's more meaningful to me to like win with a cool, fun theme deck or whatever at a low rank, or at least have a good quality game with it, whether you win or not, than to win. Anybody can just use a legend caliber deck and get legend, or a mythic caliber deck and get mythic, right? It's very much means based. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do that sometimes too, but sometimes it's more fun just to kind of mess around and do other things. So it's all relative to what you're using, which I can't even use like a free-to-play excuse, because I'm sure there's better stuff by now that I could easily make. But Flying Vigilance enters with +1/+1, and that guy lost his ability for now. Yeah, just the sheer amount of healing is going to be annoying. Like, again, if it's a 1 mana 2/3, but I mean, it's really not. It's just, I mean, I'll still be able to almost out heal what you're doing if I just get a couple more things out there. And you don't have any healing, so I'm just going to win in the raw numbers game sense, even with only 2 dinky land. I just can't think of how any way to... I guess I could put 3 black land in there, period, but you're never going to get it enough. Okay, that could attack into there. I mean, he's going to be healing for a certain amount, too. Or he could block it with both of them, but he'd have to sack the one guy. Don't really have anything I can play. Return all... Wait. All creatures and planeswalkers card value X from the graveyard to the battlefield. But I don't even have anything in there, period. And I still wouldn't even be able to do it because it's supposed to be like 5. I don't get it. Add a mana, spend this only to cast an angel spell. The idea with the black mana, if I was to put it in there, the black land, is you would be able to basically pass it off for the rest of it. So like the 4 or the 3, but that's just still awkward as heck. I could put like 5 of those in there and then the rest would be white. Wait, this makes it can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. But yeah, even if you were to get that effect, you would still have trouble doing it because... Let's see how this works exactly. I'm not necessarily going to die, but it's going to be getting a little bit close, even though I was just flexing about the amount that I was healing for. But yeah, see, I won't even be able to do the daily quest still now. That is such a troll. It takes me 2 weeks to do 1 set of daily quests. And it takes me a month to save up for the next draft. Not that I mind even playing this, but it's like, at least I should perform better in the draft so that doesn't become an issue. The main thing I want to test here is just what does this interaction do? Like, let's activate his ability. If it's a halfling rogue, let me at least see what it does, dude. Why should it be good game? It could be so many other things I could do. Yeah, hurry up. Let me see it. Add 1 mana, only activate his ability, blah, blah, blah. Oh, great. You won't even let me see it. Like, maybe that guy will work for it. It's just so annoying. Like, how are you supposed to get this to happen? You just have to make, like, a black-white hybrid. Okay, I'll put the black in there, too. I won't even change anything else. I'll just get rid of, like, 5... I'm just very OCD about like not putting in anything over 60, but you could of course do that too. Give me the land. Why is it showing me all this stuff? Wait, why is this even on this page? But yeah, that doesn't make sense either. Like how they say, oh, water lands, that's an oxymoron. Even swamp land. Or they're not all swamps, just like the plains are not all plains, so you can't take them that literally. What did I even do in terms of the daily quest? Or I did say I would switch if that happened. Not that I need any excuse to. So let's do a best of 3 with green maybe, or or maybe not. I don't know. Let's spend most of the time just doing. Let's just do 1 game with green. Period. Best of 1. What even was this again? Isn't this just the same thing I was using before? Why does it look different? Or where's the spider one? How did it move everything around? Wasn't one of the ones we had at the top to do with the spider? Useless to meet revenge again. With revenge, it will heal nothing. That is really weird how they removed that Saruman moment from the end of the movie. It's like, oh, they thought it would be anticlimactic, but it's kind of stupid because he goes and burns down the Shire. Instead, he dies on the tower, like, way earlier. It's one thing you want to add your little own flair to it, but that's, like, a really weird decision to make. But yeah, we were sort of clowning, me and my friend were clowning on Stephen King, like, you know, the one good contribution he made to the world was the Shawshank Redemption, which was such a shock to so many people. Like, maybe nobody really knew or paid attention to the fact that he wrote it, or at least he wrote the basis for it. He's credited as, like, having written the screenplay, though, too. I don't get it. I don't know who else would get credit for it if not him, then. Yeah, that is, like, one of the best screenplays ever. So that's the one thing that proved he's not a hack. Not the fact that... Oh, here we go. We get our karma right back for using white that we have to play it. You know, that proved he could write, not any of the other bugs. I like how he complains about The Shining, like, oh, The Shining wasn't true to the source, but everybody loves it, and most of his other movies everybody hates or thinks are garbage. So... He didn't want to trade in really too much. I could certainly rebuke. Unfortunately, the act of doing that isn't going to help me because... Okay. 5-3. Get rid of that, but everything else is a little bit out of reach here. That one can keep beating on me. Once again, we have the same problem of just flying hard countering us. Please just let the game last long enough to do my daily quest. Again, I'm not going to hold it against the game that I've done it like this, but then again, it's kind of been fun too. I just think it's sort of unconventional. It's not normally how I do things either. But, like, even, oh, it's meant to be a secondary series, but, like, secondary to what? When this is all I do on Monday because I don't have time these days to do as much anymore. It's kind of weird. So that sort of dictates my pace, but it really doesn't because even I would always used to do that no matter what. Even like, not streaming, I would just take my time and play stuff slowly. And so it wouldn't bother me, but it's just like, it maybe doesn't feel as fitting when you don't do it as long. Because, like, nobody can complain, oh, you're playing so slowly and taking your time if you're streaming 7 hours a day or you're playing 7 hours a day. So, you know, you're going to get stuff done even regardless. You're just going to lose to flying, hardcore, straight out. There was one game where this invisible stalker was on the field, like, for 50 turns, and I just didn't notice or I wasn't attacking with it. If I had done that, I might have won the game despite the fact that they had, like, a million things on the board. That is kind of a unique effect if only I had a buff for it. And, of course, having hexproof doesn't stop you from targeting stuff or buffing it. He's got a bit of a troll face going. But I would have loved to have seen... yeah, that's such a clown decision to try to build that deck because now we're not going to even be able to do the daily class. I guess I just felt like we were off to a good start because I could guarantee my own demise with that. Force them to attack. Or no, that's the wrong one. The other turtle has like some sort of gravitational pull that will let them do that. Yeah, Monday is kind of an annoying day in that way. That is hilarious. We don't actually get even anything done. We made a white deck that's not even a good white deck, and now it's going to be weird because it's some sort of hodgepodge around that ring stuff, which isn't even the point of it. But I guess I didn't have as many good high-cost white cards as I thought. Okay, you're taking entirely too long, dude. Please. But yeah, who has ever played this game like this? Probably a lot of people. They'll just play it on the toilet on their phone like once a day or whatever. But yeah, that was the one good quote of last week. All these sort of like YouTube comments that I don't really post myself, but I sort of ingratiate myself with that way of thinking, or like come up with things that would be suited. Is like XQC is having like a lot of drama because of his relationships and whatever personal stuff, and it's like the role model example is Hikaru got married just now and nobody even knew about the relationship. Meanwhile, XQC, every little thing he does is a big drama, so that shows you the maturity level. Like, can you have like your personal life and professional life be separate? And it sort of goes back to like maybe something I said in the Psychology of Twitch episode, which was like some of these people, they grow up in the spotlight. That happens with like professional athletes. So in other words, they didn't have a personal life yet because they were just young and they were growing up and they were streaming in their basement or whatever in their garage, and then they became big and millionaires. So they never established like a proper professional, healthy personal life in the first place. So of course they wouldn't know how to separate the two because they never even had one to begin with. So that's not even bashing them. It's just like that is sort of the same tendency that like you're in such a powerful, good position, but instead you turn it into a negative because everything has to be a drama. It is an interesting lack of self-awareness of what a strong, amazing position you're in. And that is really pathetic. I'm trying to think like what would be the quickest way we could do it. Who cares? We have 4 kids, so we're almost halfway there already. Damn. See you tomorrow.